Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. Today on our show, we're here to talk about the importance of music as therapy for your body, your mind, for your spirit, your soul. And today we want to continue our conversation with Giana, Nguyen and Trish, Trang. In the beginning, we got to learn a little bit about your journey, your transition, and your ever-growing journey. But I want to stop a little bit and take pause and dedicate this segment to talking about Dancing Keys Music Studio. As we were talking about before, in the waiting room, I think you and I met maybe 10 or even 20 years ago
I don't know
through
about
our
20.
friend.
Julie, come on.
We're too young.
At least a decade.
At least a decade.
Yes.
And through our friend Tony T. Nguyen,
Yeah,
right? And my
Tony.
friend Hood. And we're so young in our careers. And we get to meet all these great people, and it's just so beautiful for me to follow you on social media, for me to run into you at every important community event in the Vietnamese community. So I just want to learn more about, what is Dancing Keys, and how did you get to that point, Giana?
Yeah, it's a funny story. So when we met was when
Yes.
I was first changing into the music industry from my previous job. That was 2011. Okay, so now let's start dating ourselves. Okay, 2011 was when I quit my previous career. This is not air quotes. I quit, and I switched over to music. And at that time, I was mostly writing songs, performing, doing shows, doing different performances, either as a solo acoustic artist or performing with bands. Just singing wherever I could, because I wanted to just figure out a way to make a living through music. Anything related to music, that was my goal. And then 2 years into the journey, or maybe it was 2012, serendipitously, my former business partner, Nguyen, heard a song of mine on a Vietnamese radio station. And that day, the music was playing because I was going to accompany my friend Thuy for a radio interview. And just talking to her host, he said, "Who are you and what do you do?" So I said, "I'm a musician." He's like, "Oh yeah, do you have music?" I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I do." He said, "Do you have a CD?" I was like, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I do." And I had the CD in my car, and he said, "Go get it." So I went to my car, I grabbed the CD, and he decided to just play a song, just without even hearing anything. So thank you to that gentleman. Played a song, and then my former business partner heard that song on the radio, reached out to me to invite me to be a guest performer for his students' recital. Then we got to talking about teaching music, and then this particular method that we specialize in at my studio called Simply Music. It's a really cool method, and I'll talk about it in a second. But meeting Alex and talking about opening a studio down in Irvine, where I was living at the time. And then we had a third partner who was also studying Simply Music, growing up with traditional lessons, but really learning about this new method. The three of us came together to open this studio, Dancing Keys Music Studio, and we opened in March of 2013.
Wow.
Yes. And
It's been that long?
It's been that long. It's almost 10 years next year.
Okay.
But since then, both of them, Alex and Stephanie, have segued into different paths. And so it's just me and other instructors that I work with at the studio. Right now, we have Miss Victoria Jones and Hong An Pham. But yeah, and it's continuing with reaching out to students to learn more about this particular method. And that's how I get to know Trish, and she's a fellow mom on this music journey. But I'll tell you more about the method in a second.
Okay.
But that's how I met Trish.
So Trish, tell me about meeting Giana and working with Dancing Keys.
Well, like I said, I took piano lessons when I was younger, and it was traditional. And
traditional mean classical music?
Traditionally, the teaching.
Oh, the teaching.
Yeah, and I didn't like it at all. And I didn't like my teacher after. My first teacher was great, and then she moved away. And then after that, my parents just found anybody, and I didn't like them. And it made me hate piano. So I asked to quit, which I regretted. So I understood how important it is to find a good teacher, a piano teacher. So when my kids are old enough, I wanted to find a good teacher, and we went through a few, and I knew it wasn't going to work. And then my friend told me about Giana, and I met her, and then I was like, oh my God, she's perfect. And they've been with you for like 3 years?
A few years now,
4 years now.
Yeah.
So how many kids do you have?
2.
2 kids?
Yes, a boy and a girl.
And how old are they? I mean, is there a certain age limit or?
They're 8 and 10 right now, but I think they started at 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
5 is on the younger end of students that I work with.
What
They
is
typically start around 6.
too young, or what's the earliest
You
we can
know,
take someone in?
Different teachers have different approaches, and so I'm not going to say what is a good age or not, but for me personally, around 6 is a good age for me.
Okay.
They've been in school, they have that focus and concentration, and they know what it's like to be in a classroom and learn from an instructor. And they pick it up a lot faster. Of course, there are students who want to start around 3, 4, 5.
Now, can a student start at 46?
Absolutely.
Am I too
Yes,
old?
never. I actually just started a new student. She's in her 70s. She said she's always wanted to learn.
I'm young.
You are a spring chicken.
Well, thank you so much for that. Thưa quý vị, hôm nay Julie muốn hiểu thêm về Dancing Keys Music Studio. Giana nói là Dancing Keys là không phải là một cái trung tâm mà dạy piano, mà thiệt ra có một cái phương pháp mới, đó là cái gọi là Simply Music.
Yes.
And Giana là một người instructor, là advanced instructor for Dancing Keys. Giana cũng chia sẻ với mình đó là hồi xưa là mở với 2 người bạn khác, mà hiện tại đó là vẫn tiếp tục làm một mình, là tại thấy là nó có rất là ý nghĩa, với cũng có một cái thời gian gặp được chị Trish. Chị Trish có dẫn 2 đứa em của con của chị Trish tới học với Dancing Keys. Nhỏ lớn lên, chị Trish chia sẻ với mình đó là chị cũng có music, cái piano class, mà cũng cái classical teaching chị không có thấy là không có hợp với, không có vui. Thì chị thấy đó là lúc mà gặp Giana cái tánh dễ thương, về cái cách phương pháp dạy đó mấy em nó tập trung hơn, phải không chị Trish? So I think that's one thing, as you said, that's so important. I'm a speech therapist, and as a speech pathologist, I know that there are over 200,000 of us around the country. But for some reason, when I meet a patient, someone who has stroke, or maybe an old stroke that they haven't spoken for years, or someone who has autism. I have a patient that was at 19 years old who hadn't spoken to anybody. But for some reason, when they met me, they were willing to open up. And I think that's kind of what I was sharing with you, Giana, which is that I love meeting other women where our passion becomes really our calling. And we get these connections that we can't explain through our degree. But what is it about Giana that made you feel that, she was the right person to help your children?
All right, Trish.
Well, she has a beautiful voice, and my son, he loves beautiful voices.
And beautiful women.
Yes, and beautiful women. So I could tell he loved her right away. Well, because his teacher before her was a man. And it did not work out. It was so bad. He would just lay on the bench.
Oh no.
And he was like, I don't want to play. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. But yes, when I met Giana, he just instantly
had a connection.
Yeah.
Connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's really important too, because we're not meant for everybody. But I think when you find the right teacher or the right therapist or the right person, or you kind of know. And I think we can't discount the intelligence of children, because I mean, when they meet people, they know who's great and who's kind, right?
Well, I mean, growing up, I felt like my parents didn't give me a choice, So I wanted to give my kids an option with different teachers.
And that sounds like a great mom, because I think when a mom who gives the children an opinion and a perspective and a ability to show their strength and their voice, I think that's important. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for sharing this journey. Hopefully after commercial break, we'll continue our conversation. Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Sau phòng quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục nói chuyện với Giana, với Trish. Hôm nay mình hiểu thêm về Dancing Keys Music Studio. Khi nào quý vị muốn theo dõi chương trình, đó là at dancingkeysmusicstudio.com, với theo dõi lên Facebook cũng được. Sau phòng quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục nói chuyện với Giana, Nguyen and Trish, Trang. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV.